Well, look at that. 2 minutes past 10 my time, 2 minutes past 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We don't work on the same time scale as Ericosi. We get things done on time, don't we, Milbillie?
Yeah.
If we say we're going to do 10 o'clock, we do 10 o'clock. We don't mess about. So,
Hey, if you're not 5 minutes early, you're late.
exactly. Yes. Yeah. But very much so. Yes. Yeah. Even if you're just on time, that's kind of late. Yeah, very absolutely. So, yes.
Well,
Hold on a second. Even if you're just on time, that's fine. I can hear myself. I don't want to do that. Everybody else hears enough of me in singular. You don't want me in plural, do you? So first of all, the big question, Milbillie, was Santa good to you this year?
I've been sick. I spent the whole day yesterday in bed sleeping.
Oh, gee whiz.
Got the flu.
Yeah, it can be a killer, can't it? When you get that really bad fever, when you like everything in you aches, and you're really hot, but you feel really cold, don't you? You know, it's I had it really bad a couple of years back. And it was. I tell you, it was around about New Year. It was a good job I didn't have a gig, because I would not have been able to have done the gig, because I was just feeling so yucky. So sorry to hear that. Other than that, did Santa bring you anything?
No sickness.
I must admit, I'm looking forward to a little Mimi that I ordered, but it's not arrived yet. But they're always the best ones. You know what a Mimi is?
Yes, I do.
To me, from me, and they're always the best ones. So, and hopefully there'll be a little something arriving from Scotland in usually about 2 weeks' time. It takes to fly over the Atlantic. Okay. I suppose, as you probably know, one of the interesting things to have developed, apart from, well, I'll get your opinion on the Governor Evers stuff. But first things first, there's been one or two people have left comments saying, "Are you going to discuss the Andy Colburn versus Netflix situation?" And I said, well, I said to you, didn't I? I said, I want to discuss that with you the next time we get to do a chat together. So, well, let's just kick off then. What are your thoughts on what has been decided thus far by the?
Well, it's looking like it's going to be an evidentiary hearing.
Yeah,
because that's what the judge said. She said either I'm going to dismiss this case,
yes,
or it's going to an evidentiary hearing, because we have conflicting statements on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And I went on CCAP, and it's been removed from that venue, so it's going to the higher court now.
Oh, the higher court, right.
They were also trying to argue that the statute of limitations have already been over, so they shouldn't even be able to do that.
That's right. I remember just at the end of the video that you posted, it was about an hour long, wasn't it? It was quite interesting hearing both sides, both lawyers, sets of lawyers discussing. The ones representing Colburn, there's one of the lawyers that's clearly a previous partner of the firm. Was very pally with what's the name of the judge?
I don't recall her name.
Very
Pepper.
Pepper, was that it?
She knows everybody.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, they do. I mean, I suppose we shouldn't really place too much importance on that, because it is a small world. You know, it's a little bit like when Steve found out that Jerry was a member of the Criminal Justice Reform Bill. You know, or let's put it this way: if Dean Strang and Tom Fallon meet up for coffee every now and again, is that such a bad thing? You know, I mean.
Well, they're going to interact with each other regardless.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all private functions they're going to attend. So
yeah, that's true. Yeah. But yes, you were saying that the first thing that the judge was.
I heard lawyers say to me when I had problems in the past, "Well, I know the judge.
Yes.
I should be able to work something out."
Sure. Okay.
What happened with Kaczynski? He got a slap on the wrist.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. No, he's. I mean, I've been looking at his decision in Brendan Dassey's, the Judge Duffin decision,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, he doesn't mix his words when it comes to Judge Kaczynski. I like the line where he talks about the fact that it's one thing for a defense attorney to tell a client that you're in a hole, but it's a whole different ball game if you're helping the prosecution to dig that hole much deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely the case there. Yeah, you were saying about the fact that at the end of the hour-long video, the judge was saying that she would have to investigate as to whether the statute of limitations had run its course, because I seem to remember there was something about the fact that Mike Griesbach came on. Sorry?
Yeah, he filed it right before the statute would run out.
Yes, I was always under the impression that they had done it just in time,
Just in time.
Yeah.
But it's been delayed for so long. Technically, the statute of limitations are over.
Yeah. I mean, they've been given the chance to file it in this other court.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we'll just have to wait and see. What I suppose is interesting is the fact that when Andy Colburn and Mike Griesbach first announced that they were going to be pursuing this civil suit, and we still don't know what sort of financial reimbursement they are hoping to get from Netflix, do we?
No.
That's never been disclosed.
But
I remember. So
about money.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I sometimes wonder if it's a little bit sort of a threatening thing. One of the best ways to retaliate is to come up with your sort of counter suit and your counter accusation to the court.
It's just ironic that Griesbach is the one that took the case.
Yeah, it
is. Of all people.
Well, my theory with Griesbach is this. I find it very strange the way that Griesbach was so vocal in denouncing Dennis Vogel. Mm-hmm. He really did, even in respect to, going on Making a Murderer and talking all about the Penny Bernstein attack and then saying about the fact that, I had I phoned Dennis Vogel and said, we seem to have got the wrong person. And Dennis Vogel is sort of, rather than saying, oh dear, what a shame, he's saying, is there anything about Gregory Allen in Stephen Avery's file, And for me, to use an old English term, he doth protesteth too much. It's almost as if he's trying to make everybody look at how bad the other person is and how good and honest and legitimate I am. And it doesn't wash with me. He doesn't come across as being that genuine after all. I mean, I don't know if you've ever... Did you ever get a chance to read that book, The Innocent Killer?
No, I haven't.
No, I've read it a couple of times. The first 2/3 is excellent. It talks about the Penny Bernstein case, the wrongful conviction, and it goes into great detail about it. He talks about when Arland Avery and Ken Peterson and Mike Bushman go to Steve's house and arrest him at 11 o'clock at night, and they deliberately chose Arland because he's relative, so that things hopefully wouldn't kick off too much.
Well, Arland convinced Stephen to turn himself in.
Yeah.
You hear reports that Arland went in the house and went upstairs and talked to Stephen, talked him to come out, and
yeah, and they sort of hid downstairs, ready to arrest him when he came down. Yeah, but no, the thing I was going to point out was that when we first heard about the fact that through, as I say, Andy Colburn and through Michael Griesbach that he was taking on this case, Kathleen Zellner's reaction to that was good. Bring it on.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to know what your thoughts on. I saw a little comment by you, which I won't repeat, but you basically sort of said that Andy Colburn might be in a bit of strife now, for want of a better word, Yeah. And I just wondered what your thoughts were on what could potentially play out now.
The truth is going to come out now.
Yeah.
Because what he's alleging they did, they're going to have to look at all the documents, transcripts, audio. And if what he said actually happened, they got to prove it first.
Yeah,
Like the judge said, there's conflicting statements on both sides.
yeah.
There was no choice but to have evidentiary hearing now.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I enjoyed the attorney for Netflix. Even in his opening statements, is referring to the finding of a magic key.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't it interesting that Ken Kratz in his closing argument said, "So what if the key is planted?"
And that news footage I posted from the 3rd to the 12th,
Yeah,
in one of them clips, you see Pago sitting at the table, and guess
yeah,
who's sitting right next to him? Robert Herman.
yeah. We didn't get to hear from him, unfortunately, but yeah, I noticed him there.
It depends on which news broadcast you watch and how
Yeah.
they portray what's going on.
Yes, yeah.
And
I
it depends on
noticed.
the reporters too.
Yeah, I noticed one thing was very interesting was the fact that they never mentioned the civil suit until about 20 minutes into that collection. It took them ages to say that he was, that Avery is now saying, well, what about this?
You also notice they say that she had been to 3 appointments that day. They don't mention the other 2 people's names.
No, no.
Just Stephen Avery.
Well, yeah, and not only that, but they refer to it as the Stephen Avery salvage yard. Stephen
Or
salvage
the
yard. Well,
Avery compound.
yes.
The way they word, they were, like I said, he had no chance. Trial by media, the whole jury pool was tainted by the time they went to go look for him. I mean, how many people did they have? And yeah.
The in one of the conversations that I had with Sheriff Herman, what he did was he sent me this supposed link to a sort of like a Gilter Reddit site, and it was this thing that somebody put together a report, an article that said there's more evidence that Netflix framed Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department than Manitowoc County Sheriff's Department framed Stephen Avery. And it was funny because way back then, somebody had pointed out, well, you do realize that there's bits of this that testimony that jump and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, but we've got filmmakers that are editing it to present a story, to present a narrative.
Well, and you got to remember when Netflix was brought the documentary they were creating, they only had 3 episodes done.
Mm-hmm.
So Netflix was there for the other 17.
Yeah,
Colburn doesn't even come up in Murder 2. I don't recall. I mean, I've only watched it once each, so
yeah.
A while.
The interesting thing about that bit of footage, which obviously it starts off with that famous, were you looking at the license plate? Were you looking at the car when you made that phone call? And then he plays it back, and Andy says,
The funny thing is, out of all the videos I've posted, that one video that I posted with that part, I got flagged.
No.
It was just that duration of the call where Dean is asking him, "Are you looking at the plates?" I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The and of course we get to hear Andy Colburn say, no, I thought she said that when Dean Strang says, what, 99 Toyota. That to me is immediately the sign of somebody who is trying to. There's a special acronym for that, isn't it? CYA.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what he's trying to do there. But at the end of that day, because Andy Colburn was on the stand for quite a long time, they couldn't possibly have included the whole of how many hours it was that Andy Colburn was on the stand. I take it you've read the actual examination and cross-examination of that.
Mm-hmm.
I certainly have, and Dean Strang really does take the mick out of Andrew Colburn, particularly over the writing of reports.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the end of it, at the end of the day, what do we get? We get none other than Anjanette Levy castigating Dean Strang for making Andy Colburn look bad. And it's like, seriously, the only person that makes Andy Colburn look bad is
Andy Colburn.
Exactly.
Just like your statement of this is the first time my integrity has ever been questioned. What about the deposition you were just given back in November or October?
Yeah. I mean, my own personal theory with Andy Colburn is that I don't think he's the sharpest tool in the shed.
I think he's smarter than we think.
Yeah. Do you think it was him that accompanied Ryan Hilligus onto the salvage yard with the RAV4, planted it, and then came back again? I certainly do.
I believe whoever drove that car there was short.
Yeah.
Shorter than Teresa.
Yeah.
Just the fact that Manitowoc Dispatch isn't timestamped whatsoever is telling. The fact that there's only 79 dispatch calls from the 3rd to the 12th.
Mm-hmm.
Then you look at the Calumet Dispatch and there's over 9,000 audio files for that same period.
Yeah.
The lack of reports, the lack of evidence, the suppression of evidence that you request. They're hiding something. They're doing their damnedest to try to. But like Steven said, the truth always comes out.
Well, yes, that's exactly where we're headed, and as I say, the whole Netflix issue, it's almost like as you say, it's whether or not they're going to get any money out of it. But for me, it's just like trying to put out a counterpunch against everybody in the sort of truther community, as if it's something else that they've got to sort of hold on to, and. I must admit, it does get a bit tiresome at times when you get the guilties who are, constantly saying, well, Kathleen Zellner hasn't done anything yet, and she was going to do this, that, and the other, and it's like
they won't let her do anything. So
exactly, we haven't really started down the road at all. We still have that to look forward to, as it were. Eventually we will end up finding out all of this stuff. Okay, so yes, I'm particularly interested, and I don't know what they will investigate in the evidentiary hearing. I don't know how much of an investigation or how much of an evidentiary hearing that will cover. Do you have any idea what sort of things they'll cover in such a hearing?
They're stating that they manipulated the transcripts, and the audio. So, but I don't know.
But yeah, the as I say, for Anjanette Levy to then say at the end of it, well, you've put Andrew Colburn up there and made him look really bad, and his 7-year-old son's going to go away crying about it. I mean, whether his 7-year-old son would be watching the news about his dad, I don't know, but. She was saying, the other kids at school are going to be poking fun at him because he's, and his son. And I don't quite get that. But anyway, that's some of the journalism for you, isn't it? That's what we're seeing now with with all those TV reports. And it is very interesting to see all these.
Remember the trial was live streamed on the internet.
Yeah. I mean,
it's unfortunate nobody recorded it, but
no, we have got some footage. And was it not something like Court Media was the firm that did all that?
Not to mention Laura and them too.
Yeah.
They were there from the beginning.
Yep. But getting on to the TV reports. Sorry, the the video that you just released. Was it just a couple of hours ago?
Oh yeah, the with Carrie from the Associated Press.
What was her name? Something Finger? Al Finger or something?
Al Finger or something.
Yeah. And that's interesting because that is actually used in Making a Murder, isn't it? When he phones up and she says, "How you doing?" and Steve says, "Well, I could be doing better." And then she says, "Well, can we just jump in? Then what do you think?" I definitely get the sense that the journalists are still stuck in the idea that, you know, how can Stephen Avery possibly claim to be innocent when she was the last person to see her alive was Stephen Avery. Well, no, we know that the last person to see her alive would have been the person that killed her. And that certainly wasn't on the Avery salvage yard, you know. And it certainly, let's put it this way: it certainly wasn't anywhere near Steve's property, Steve's garage, or Stephen Avery's trailer. Whether or not it was somewhere else on the yard, it seems to be that it was at the side of the yard, Cuss Road, because that's where we've got all these, crime scene investigator type characters with the, tents put up and vans there and all sorts of stuff, even an ambulance. But then they say they've got these sort of very simplified facts of last person to see her. Car is found on the salvage yard, but in the opposite corner, of course, completely opposite corner. You couldn't be further away from Stephen Avery's caravan to the place where the car was found, could you?
No,
it is the direct opposite. Yeah,
yep. Complete opposite side of the property.
And then they find the key. Then they find the cremains, and it's like. None of the press.
In the dispatch from the mandatory dispatch we do have, on the 8th, you don't hear nothing of them talking about bones. All you hear is Colburn say they found an entire women's bracelet in his fire pit. Where is that entered in the evidence?
Oh, well.
There's like lots of things you hear in the dispatch calls that, like Cuss Road.
Yeah.
Both reports, they downplay it completely. And they got all these photos from the 8th. You read case on the 8th. What do you see? You read the Wisconsin State Patrol report too. They don't really focus on it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you've got is you've got investigators there, some of which are trying to do their normal investigation, and at times they are going down from the from the corruption sort of point of view. They're going down the wrong road, so they soon get sort of stopped from doing what they're doing and redirected to do other things. It's no wonder they were there for. What was it, a week altogether? They took over the salvage yard from the following Saturday?
Saturday morning till what? That was the 5th. So they're there for another 7 days.
Yeah. I mean, when you've got that many people there, it doesn't take you 7 days. It doesn't take 7 searches of a bedroom.
Yep. And why is Colburn and Link always there when something's found?
One of the interesting side events, of course, was when we had Herman and Andy Colburn running for sheriff. You know, when I had my very first conversation with Sheriff Herman, one of the first things that he said to me was that he and Andy Colburn get on fine. There's no hard feelings. There's no animosity. We get on really well. And I was like, what are you on about? I didn't think that there was any animal. And then he went on to explain that he had won the election for sheriff. What makes a plain sergeant?
Like before Andy Colburn became a sheriff, he was working in the jail.
Yeah.
Kept submitting applications to become a sheriff.
Right.
Kept getting denied. Kept getting denied. Kept getting denied. Out the blue, oh, we're offering you to become a sheriff now. Coincides with the same time he got that phone call.
Yeah. Just to sit on it, obviously, but yeah. So
the fact that he files that report the day after Stephen Avery is released, that's telling right there. They even bring it up in the Netflix thing about that whole situation in the court case.
Yep.
And like, for instance, he doesn't file the report of talking to Stephen Avery until 8 months later, when he's advised to when the Manitowoc does their summary report.
Yeah. Okay. In the the Associated Press phone call with this Altfinger or whatever her name is.
Altfinger.
Kerry Altfinger.
She covered a lot of missing person and cases in Wisconsin.
Right. Okay. We get to also hear when now that we know that Brendan has been arrested and it's come up with this story, this incredible story, which has still never been corroborated. None of it has ever been corroborated. There's lots of evidence that obviously what they say happened clearly never happened. And
it's very clear why they went after Brendan.
Yes, because Steve actually touches on that, doesn't he? He touches on the fact that they'd been going after Jody.
Yep. And Marie and all of them.
Yeah.
And he tells them, like, he gave his first statement, and that was the truth.
Yeah.
Like Krivitz.
I'll tell you what was also interesting in one of those, as I say, people should check out the Milbillie channel. I'm sure that I'm just wondering if there's any admins, moderators in the chat here that can post the link to Milbillie's channel. I'm pretty sure that everybody is a regular on your channel as well. I would be very surprised if they're not. But in that video where you've got the various TV reports, we actually get to see Candy Avery. That's the first time I've ever seen her.
There's another video I'm about to post where Stephen gets released from prison, and Candy's standing right there too with Earl.
All right.
And yeah, there's tons of footage out there. You just gotta find it.
Yeah. I was sent information about that Rob Bellin and his law firm. They've put some videos. It's not had many views, but no. he was like a
defense analysis for the news.
That's right. Yeah, and it was very interesting. Interesting stuff. What he was able to point out.
Another thing with that news footage from the 3rd to the 12th, they're interviewing a lady in there, and she says they need to look into the Lori Deppis case because Stephen Avery is probably responsible for that too.
Oh, right.
When Lori Deppis went missing, Stephen Avery was still in prison. That happened in 1991.
Yeah,
the fact that people are making those statements on the news, they already have in their mind that he's guilty.
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that they do is they have to have it as this really horrible, grotesque crime, which it is anyway. But they have to make it as graphic as possible, and they have to present it as many times as possible, and then say, "But we've caught the person responsible." You know, so that everybody's hatred is leveled towards that one person. So, in that phone call with Connie Coy
Mm-hmm.
Altfinger.
Carrie.
Kerry. Cheers. You go around in circles with all these names. So in that interview with the Carrie Altfinger, as I say, we get to hear that famous line where she says that, so is Brendan clever, or words to that effect? And would you say he's not very clever? That was it.
Yeah.
And Steve says, well, he wouldn't really say that, but it's just that he's so shy and quiet and everything,
Well,
What do you
brings up the fact that he can't even be around them cutting up deer.
No,
How the hell is he going to be there when they're cutting up a body?
exactly.
Brendan even mentions that with the time that Tom shot their cat, ever since that, he's been queasy when he sees blood.
Yeah, which is understandable. So, I don't know if you've heard about, obviously, the Brendan's petition for clemency being denied, and what the next stage is. What any thoughts on the idea to simply sort of appeal to Governor Evers again to see if he'll consider it?
Well, I've seen Laura Nyrider invited him to join her next time she goes to visit Brendan, so she
Yeah.
can. But like I said, I don't think he ever seen it. He probably was aware of it, but there's a board in place to review it before they send it to him.
Yeah.
Any of the requirements, so they didn't even really take a look at it.
Well, I just don't understand why it took them so long, because if it was always a case of he was never going to look at it and he was just going to abdicate the job.
You got to take into consideration, how many people do you think submitted these requests?
Mm-hmm.
Don't know.
No.
How many people submitted the request when he granted the first pardons he did?
Mm-hmm.
Don't know. Obviously, the board recommended it to him, and he approved it.
Yes, it was the first 5 that they were all for like minor offences for which
they've all been released from prison, and
so they've all done their time anyway. And I can't remember, were they all prison sentences, or some of them be misdemeanors?
Some of them happened when they were, like, for instance, the guy that was on leave in the military and got in a fight when he was 18 at the bar, and something happened.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, there's quite a few. Like one of the guys was petitioning because he wanted to go hunting.
Yes.
One wanted to petition because he wanted to pursue a career in law enforcement.
Yeah.
I mean, they all had justified means on why they wanted to. They just were just writing out the blue, like, hey, I just want to. Yeah.
Yeah. So, are you hopeful? Shall we say that Governor Evers might, when they ask again, might consider a bit further?
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just a little bit sort of, and I don't want to sound as if I'm being nasty about this, but I don't want. I can see why, from Brendan's point of view, just get the kid out, because he's still a kid, really. He's still the 16-year-old kid. Although he's had these 13, 14 years in prison, he will have learnt something of prisoners that are in there. But by all accounts, he's very well behaved, very respectful. Actually gets on fine with everybody.
The whole time he was in prison, he's had 2 infractions, and for having extra French toast.
Yeah.
The fact that they moved him to a minimum security prison.
Yeah.
They're moving him in the right direction.
Well, not only that, but they even put him at
Oshkosh, which is closer.
Yeah, but when they thought he was going to be released, they put him into this cell where they put them just before they're to be released, so that they're near the exit of the prison. Is that right?
Yeah, and he was planning to give all his stuff to the inmates he was with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a tragic.
Yeah. But what the way I feel about it is that I want to see Steve and Brendan walking free, having been exonerated.
Oh, me too.
And I don't know about you. Maybe it's just a perception I'm getting from some of the, for example, the TV reports and stuff like that. They always say about the fact that he was released after 18 years, wrongfully convicted, but it was on DNA evidence proved that he couldn't have done it. But you'll always get people who think that that is a mere technicality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the fact that Penny Bernstein identified.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, I don't know if you're familiar with some of the worst prosecutors in America. They hold the opinion that once you've taken a plea deal, if you've taken either a plea deal or you've given a confession, that's it. You'd never ever get the chance to retract that confession.
Mm-hmm.
You went down that route. So I just feel that I want to see Brendan released, but I want to see him released having been proven through the court system.
Well, what do you think is going to happen?
Put him there.
If Zellner gets your evidentiary hearing, then they get a new trial, and then Stephen Avery's found not guilty.
Yeah.
What happens with Brendan then?
No.
He didn't act alone.
No.
Then who was he with?
Yeah.
Like, just like when they're talking to Jody, they tell Jody, like, we know he did this by himself. We know he did this by himself. Well, once you find out that Jody doesn't want to talk to you no more, just like, I don't know if, like I said, go to Foul Plays channel if you want to listen to all the dispatch calls. I go through them. I have to listen to them, find out who's on the call, and then I have to go back find their pictures so I can re-record it. But after Jody and Dolores go to see Steven, when they're leaving, they get pulled over.
By the sheriff's department.
By Calumet. And they wanted to talk to Jody. Jody refused to talk to him again.
Mm.
But this is after she's already been released. This is way after Brendan's already confessed and they're all hemmed up in jail.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they try getting Marie to say some shit, and then they go after Jody, try to get her to say some things.
Yeah, I mean,
and then they're obviously listening to all the phone calls too, because that's why they singled out Brendan.
Mm. I mean, the thing for me is that I would say that being an investigator, I've got friends in the police here in Scotland.
I got friends that are police here in Milwaukee.
Yeah, they are under huge pressure at times to be seen, to be doing something about getting a suspect, finding evidence against them, all that kind of stuff. So the putting of pressure on people to see if they can get some sort of crack in their story, that's fair enough. I don't have a problem with that. But when they're going to this length of trying to get, would you say, first of all, it was
Marie.
Jody. But yeah, Marie. Jody. And it almost makes you think, well, had they thought about it, they could have just gone after Brendan straight away if they'd have known how easy it was going to be to.
Well, they didn't know that until they heard Steven talking about the day of the 31st and what took place.
Yeah. And then went after him. Yeah. I
mean, Blaine wasn't taking their shit. Brian wasn't taking their shit. Bobby, like you hear Dolores and them say, they grilled Bobby bad.
Well, yes.
Everybody's conflicting statements. Everybody, like not just the Dassey and Avery's, the law enforcement too. You look at the hearing in November, and then they go back in January. What they said in November doesn't match what they're saying now in January.
Mm.
Even Dean and Jerry tried to bring this up to Willis, and he denies it.
Mm-hmm.
He denied everything.
Yeah.
Like you read the trial transcripts, but it'd be nice if they noted if the jury was present or not when things were going on. Because look at the coroner. Her whole testimony was barred. anything that would have looked suspicious or painted them in a bad, like for instance, when Tyson's on the stand and they're asking him, well, is this the first time you've ever been told to babysit other officers? Is the jury there when this all happens? We don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. When do we know? Do we know when Mike Veely actually finished his report on the computer? Was it taken into evidence? I'm trying to think when some date in April springs to mind with me as to when Veely finished his report.
They first took Stephen's computer into custody first.
Yes.
And then after Brendan's confession, because Stephen also mentioned in the jail calls that Barb and them are looking up all kinds of crazy, nasty stuff on the computer.
Mm.
So, like I said, Stephen, he fucked himself.
So Stephen knew that that Bobby was looking up bad stuff.
Not necessarily Bobby. He just said Barbara and them.
Yeah.
And then you hear them talking about how Bobby beats up on Barbara.
Mm.
I mean, there's so much in these calls.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it is true that obviously Kathleen Zellner is going after the fact that all of these images were on Bobby's computer. But I must admit,
the fact that they labeled it Brendan's computer.
Yes, yeah.
And the fact that they gave him the information, they pretty much let on the impression that there was nothing really there. Come to find out, like the fact that Fassbender took the CD and held it for so long.
Yeah.
That's just suppression of evidence. That's a violation.
Yes. Yeah.
It's like after I talked to Jay Booty and found out that he had none of this queso dispatch. That's huge. The fact that they're saying that they have to expand the crime scene by 2.5 miles because they're finding bones everywhere.
Yeah.
Who in the hell is going to burn somebody in their burn pit and is just, well, we're going to throw some here, we're going to throw some there. And then Cratch in his book tries to implicate that when he threw the bones they found in the quarry were directly behind Stephen's house.
Yeah.
That's not true. Just like in his book, he states that bones were found near Cuss Road. Where is this documented?
Yeah.
Nowhere near Cuss Road is anything found.
Mm-hmm.
So why is he saying this?
Mm-hmm. What? Yeah,
what prompted him to write this new chapter and to include that?
Yeah.
Of all things. I know he watches my videos. I know, well, at least Charles Darwin does.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Ken doesn't even really try and hide it. The first time I knew it was Ken was when I did a very interesting survey, and I said, right, of all the lawyers that we've seen, operating on our TV screens, if you were needing a lawyer, who would be your chosen lawyer to help you out, And Charles Darwin came back with, it would be Ken Kratz because he's a straight shooter. And I knew straight away he's voting for himself there,
Well, he commented, I think it's like 15 times on the video I posted of the Night Rider press conference for Brendan's clemency.
Yeah.
Last comment was, "Thank you, Evers. You did the right thing."
Yeah.
I mean, he comments on each person that gave their testimony during the press conference. Comments on each person, what they said, and what. He's a piece of shit.
Do you know what he sent me a message when I first started doing these Duffin decision videos, and he said, "You do realize, by the way, that Duffin based his decision partly on a book written by Stephen Drizzen." And I'm like, well, actually, I didn't, and he gave me this narrative, and just as a bit of playful banter, I said, "Oh, Stephen Drizzen book, where can I find that? I'd love to purchase that because I've been so adamant about the fact
the more people that can interact with Kratz and get him to talk about things, the better."
Yeah,
make sure you screenshot that shit.
Yeah. But what was interesting was that the fact that. we discover, in fact, that the author of the book is two authors, Drizzen and Leo. And it was actually Steve Drizzen that brought Leo in at the appeal stage back in. I think it was actually as early as 2010. By 2010, Drizzen and Nyrider had already started representing Brendan.
Yep.
And so they've had these two appeal stages, and in one of them it was a 5-day hearing. That's when they brought in Leo. And so no wonder that the judge has to mention this Leo fella.
Like they're bringing up the fact that I think it's Willis, his license expired in 2004 or some shit.
Right.
You shouldn't even have been a judge on the case. Like just Judge Fox used to be the Tadich family attorney.
Yeah. Yeah, that is a very strange connection.
It's strange that they waited until Barb and Scott got married, because that means they can't testify against each other.
That's right. It's one of the amendments, is it not? That you don't have to testify against your partner, your spouse. Is that the right word? Yeah.
Yep, your spouse.
Yeah. And yes, that it seemed as if that was a somewhat rushed thing as well. Am I understanding that correctly? There was some rush to get married, so that there wasn't any.
You can hear it all played out listening to jail calls.
Yes. Yeah.
There's so much info in there. You just got to know what you're listening for.
Yes, I must admit, I do struggle at times with hearing, for example, even when Laura Riccardi is on the phone, because you've got two affairs, haven't you? 2 calls that Steve's made with Laura.
Yeah.
Any other thing of interest that's come up from some of the phone call listening to them?
Oh, just more confirming what Stephen Avery says.
Yeah.
Like I was anticipating listening to him talk about burning the brush, and it was bittersweet when I heard him say it. Because how is Earl hunting brush piles on Wednesday when they were burned on Monday?
Yep.
Why is Earl stating the last time he was in the pit was on Wednesday, but when we hear he was in the pit with Steven right by the crusher, sighted in his 30-06 on Friday? And when they talked to him, this is what, 4 days later? You can't remember 4 days ago? I remember exactly what I did on October 36, 2005. I mean, I got a good memory. Maybe that's it. But Steven's had nothing but time this whole time. He's just probably going over his head. Like, how is this happening?
Yeah, I think it's clearly a case of he realizes something's happening, something's going wrong.
By the time he realizes what's happening, it's too late, because he's already dropped his lawsuit. He took the settlement. They got exactly what they wanted. Yeah.
But I mean, even things, suspicious things happening, like the blood from his sink magically washing itself up. The headlights. Who can he call?
He tells Wiegert and Fassbender that on the 9th.
Yeah.
About the blood missing from his sink.
Yeah.
And then he smelled smoke in his house.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing. Do we know who the smokers and the non-smokers are within the family? Steve clearly doesn't smoke. I believe Jody does.
Jody, Chuck, Candy, Dolores, all of them. They all smoked.
But
Chuck, I've seen they all smoke.
But I'm just wondering, did Bobby smoke? I'm pretty sure Scott Taddick smokes. Well, I mean, that's we see him smoking all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if we've ever seen Bobby smoking.
We don't really see much of Bobby, do we?
No.
He pretty much dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to point out, which was quite interesting, was of course that in one of the phone calls with Rowley Johnson. We've mentioned it before, but Rowley Johnson is complaining about the fact that they took what was that burn pit, which was just originally quite a small area, and they've excavated it. so that it's this huge area. You can see it in the footage, can't you? In the film.
Well, there's actual video I'm about to post. There's aerial footage of them with the backhoe and rakes. Two people. They basically, it's so retarded. They did not process nothing correctly. When it comes from the everything. They do popular investigations on places that have no evidentiary value whatsoever. Like they take, like for instance, like I brought this up when we were at Air Code, they leave the blood with the panel in her car, but then they remove the Suzuki door for evidence.
Yeah.
But there's not a single piece of evidence on the back of that door.
No.
But then they choose to leave something that's got biological evidence that will deteriorate over time, and they leave it in the vehicle.
Pretty suspicious.
It's like you got photos of the blood drop that's on the rear passenger door, and it's complete drop there. And then later, when they cut the other photos we have, it looks like, is that where the blood flakes came from? Because you can see the middle part of the blood drop where it dropped and then it started dripping. Part of it's gone.
Yeah, I mean, some of that could be maybe opening and shutting the door. Could it be?
Don't know. Wasn't documented properly.
Yeah.
When they have the photos of when the photos of them in the crime lab, it seems like they're paying more attention to the instructor, the people there, than they are the damn car. Taking pictures of Ertl sitting at the computer, not the pictures of the damn car.
That's right. Yeah.
Why do we only have pictures from one side? We don't have the passenger side, really.
Yes.
It's just select photos.
Yeah.
Why don't we have a picture of the VIN from the crime lab?
I know.
Just how they cherry pick things and.
Yeah, well, of course, the suspicion
like if he's really guilty, evidentiary hearing should be granted because they're going to find out that he really did it. If he's guilty,
that's the thing, though, isn't it? That you know, if you're wanting to frame somebody, you have to make sure that the wrong evidence, as far as they're concerned, isn't found. You've got to make sure that you don't go down too far certain avenues.
Look at Jean Couché, where he said in his deposition, where did the hair come from? How did it get there? It can be planted. The same things you're arguing right now is the same thing that Stephen Avery's arguing right now.
Yeah.
That is planted.
Yeah.
They got his blood already on file. They got all kinds of blood of him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I had a strange message show up, which I'd like to try and find if at all possible. When was it posted? Let's have a look. Yeah, this is strange. Are you available to have a chat with the dude later on?
Yeah, just make sure those settings are correctly, or I'll record it on my end just in case it happens again.
Yes. What a plonker, eh? What a plonker. I mean, that's the first thing I did when I spoke to him yesterday. I said, make sure that you've got everything turned on that you should have turned on. But do you know what? It's not the first time he did that. I remember
I posted a few videos of these jail calls, and I didn't have the audio turned on to my software. Thankfully, it was only like an 8-minute fucking call.
Yeah. Everybody's kicking their computer, kicking their TV screen. Why is the sound not working?
And I posted a portion of the flyover.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, well, he doesn't post something for no reason. The whole intent of that, my purpose to point to that portion of the flyover, because I posted it to YouTube and then I recorded it in super slow-mo. Yeah. And then I recorded it and then I played it in super slow-mo again so I could get slower frames.
Yeah.
I also use this program too, this audio editor. It's used for like sports. Comes in handy.
Yeah.
You go frame by frame by frame by frame.
Yeah. That is handy.
It also depends on the quality of the video. That flyover video, it's been like we got the original FOIA, and it's still no better than what we have already on YouTube.
Yeah, and how much actual minutes were they up in the sky for, and how many minutes is there actually that Kathleen's on it? So 3 hours. She's got 4 minutes of it.
If you read the trial transcripts when they talked to the pilot, he claims they spent about 25 minutes in total over the Averys on the 4th.
Yeah,
we only have like 3.5 minutes of video for that day, and somebody I know did audio analysis of it, and it's definitely spiced up because you can hear it goes from an airplane to a helicopter to an airplane back to a helicopter.
Right.
You can tell by the audio from the engine, the where it shows the visual. You can tell that it's not a helicopter, and you can tell when it's an airplane.
Mm-hmm. Forgive my ignorance. At the very beginning of Andy Coleman's phone call, the dispatcher says to him something about the fact, do you speak Spanish? I was under the impression that's because there's a phone line that they can phone into the police department.
There's two dispatch lines for Manitowoc. Line 1 and line 2, and it's let's see, I got everything here. 920-683-4201 is line 1, and then 920-683-4202 is line 2.
Right.
And for all, like I said, for all them days between the 3rd and the 12th, we have 79 dispatch calls.
Right.
For Manitowoc. 79. It's pathetic.
Yeah. But is one of them for Spanish speaking?
No.
No, it was just some sort of joke that she said, are you speaking Spanish or something?
Yeah. I think it was something that probably happened. Maybe she got, well, we don't know because we don't hear any of the dispatch calls. Yeah. Like I talked to Jerry Beauty, and he clearly states that there were traffic stops in between the calls, but whoever uploaded them, I don't know, something strange.
Yeah, it's something interesting in the Illusion of Justice book, because it's where Dean and Jerry didn't know at first that all phone calls into the sheriff's office were reported, even from like in effect you're sort of
that's why we have
just official lines, but also others.
You got Tom Pierce calling dispatch, and then they transfer him to Leslie's office number, and that's why we hear that conversation, because it was still inside the sheriff's department.
Right. Just
like when we got Remaker calling Wiegert that morning, they're talking about, oh, the boss wants us to go back and review Avery and Zipper.
Yeah.
We got him calling dispatch, and then we have the call transferred. We have Manitowoc's end of it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can pinpoint when things are happening by what's going on. Like, for instance, on the 3rd, we got Link calling in about Carmen Bootwell, and then in Queso dispatch, we have Wiegert calling the dispatch saying he just talked to Link, and the woman they found in in Manitowoc is Carmen. So we can know when that call happened around.
Mm-hmm.
We got Link calling dispatch Queso at 5:07 p.m. Well, if Wiegert only talked to Colburn, how did Link get involved? I have an idea.
Well, yeah.
Wiegert called Colburn calls Link then pages Jacobs and Remaker. Why is the dispatcher saying that? Oh, she was over in 2 residents in Manitowoc. One of them is her friend, Stephen Avery, and the other one's George Zipper. And I guess Dieterin's on his way over now because he got an attorney.
Yeah.
And just like that dispatcher, the lady, I think it's Wendy Baldwin, actually says that Teresa sounds like somebody that was involved in an incident that happened the weekend prior. So I don't know. It's clearly that the dispatchers were screening their calls, and they were choosing what to pass on. Like when Leo R calls about somebody knocking on his door on the 4th,
yeah,
Wiegert say, "Oh, write it down, take a note of it." I'm pretty sure that's not the case.
Yeah.
But did they contact him?
I believe it was towards the end of the month, wasn't it? It was way later.
Like,
I'm going to let you go, but I've got one more question, and this is from Anna. And she's asking, is there flyover video that shows anywhere near the dam on Highway 147? I didn't think there was.
No.
It's not that far from the Avery Salvage Yard, is it? It's only a couple of miles away.
It's
because you come out to Michicot, you go heading northwest, I would say, and then you go past that point in the road. You go on a bit further, is that right? And you get to the salvage yard.
Yeah,
geography right.
Yeah, Michigan is on 147. You'd be heading northwest from Michigan or southeast from Avery's.
Well, listen, pal, it's been great once again having you on, and I do sincerely hope that you'll soon be feeling much better. Maybe a chat later on with Eric Jose will be just the tonic that you need. Make you feel better. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to manage. It's now 11 o'clock here. He is 8 hours behind me, whereas of course you and he have a time difference of just 2 hours. If Lyndon's on there as well, I might just leave you three to have a good chin wag together, if that's okay with you. But of course, it does mean that I'm looking forward to inviting you back probably in the new year for another wee chat and see, because as I say, I'm finding all the videos that you're pointing, they are so very, very, very interesting, you know. I'm
not posting them for no reason. I'm definitely not posting them for no reason.
I totally agree with this, and please join Milbillie on his YouTube channel to hear the calls he's speaking of. Foul play, yes, yeah, we've listened to and watched every time something comes up. I haven't been able. I'm hands up. I'll be honest. I haven't listened to them all the way through, you know, but I've tried to get as much as I can. And certainly anything that deals with the press coverage is interesting. Anything to do with the lawyers and Netflix, yeah.
So there's so many calls of him talking to Debbie and Jody, and Dolores. It's pretty much all the same things. You know,
yes,
they're talking about the same things all the time. But there are occasions where they say something very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. But I think I've asked you this before. There's nothing that's ever come up that's ever made you go, Steve is guilty. Steve did do it.
I do. You will definitely know about it.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, I've always had this theory, right, that if Steve wanted to, he could say to everybody involved in this case, he could say, look, just you keep me here for the rest of the time. I will admit to having done it, but let Brendan go. How would he ever come up with a narrative that would explain everything? There's no way he could explain everything that we now know, could he? It would just be impossible.
Just like there's not a single piece of evidence against Brendan whatsoever.
Yes. No.
None.
No.
Even Steven says they already took everything. They're not going to find anything more. They took everything already. This is March 31st.
Yeah.
We're talking to Carrie, Associated Press.
Absolutely. Right. Okay. One final thought. The win against Minnesota Vikings.
I didn't get to watch the game, but I figured. I don't think the Packers are going to do anything when it comes to the playoffs, but.
Well, let's keep fingers crossed. Cause
depends on who they got to play.
Yeah.
They got bad luck when it comes to Seattle.
Yes.
Real bad luck.
Yeah.
Lately, it seems like they get to the division game and then they choke.
Well, let's hope not. But
just like the year they did win the Super Bowl, they played every game on the road.
Yes.
It was destiny. They that was a good year for them.
Very good year. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to say cheerio, and everybody look forward to catching up with. I might, if I'm awake, I might be able to join in. I might be able to persuade a friend of mine called Captain Crunch to join in on the chat. So look out for him. He
All
might.
right.
Be. Okay, take care. And as I say, I hope you're soon feeling better.
Well, I'm feeling a lot better than I did, but
Good.
it was bad.
Yeah, a hot toddy is what you need.
I've been drinking tea, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Lemon tea and honey.
I'll put a little bit of whiskey in there. That'll help.
Yeah, I don't drink.
I must admit I do enjoy the odd drink around about Christmas time. But anyway, I'm going to say cheerio. So thanks very much for joining us, and thank you to everybody that's joined in on the chat. And we'll catch you again soon. Bye for now. Cheerio.
Cheerio.